Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Underneath the Hood. I'm Dave Martin, the owner of Martin's Auto Repair in Central Phoenix.
I'm Glen Hayward, the proud owner of Goodworks Auto Repair in sunny Tempe, Arizona.
And I'm Lee Weatherby with Accurate Automotive in the heart of Mesa.
And together, we represent 140 years of combined automotive experience.
Our goal is to change the perception of our auto repair industry by going behind the scenes and underneath the hood.
And we hope to share with you what it's like to own a small business and give you a perspective from an insider's point of view.
So let's get started. Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Wonderful. Good to
Super great.
see you, Dave, Lee.
Super great.
Let's do this.
Let's do this. Hey, how do you guys feel about having an apprentice in your shop?
All for it.
I'm all for it. I think there's some prerequisites and some qualifications that I'd like to do through the interview process to make sure that they're not just doing something to make their parents happy or whatever, get out of the house, go do something.
I think foundationally, just to your point, because I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, and that is, listen, we grew up because we'd like to fix things, you know what I mean? But our generation, you know what I mean, is the fixers, right?
Right.
And now the fact of the matter is you've got kind of this just explosion of information, you know what I mean? And what's going into cars, all this new technology and everything else. And you know what? You've got kids that are really, really excited, and they're really, some of the other industries that are around are starting to downsize, you know what I mean? And guess what? These kids are out there going, man, I want to use my skills to be able to do this. And they have an aptitude for it. And I think that's what you're getting to, is if they've got an aptitude to go after some things, man, the value in that is inherent. It's absolutely fascinating.
One thing you said, Lee, was that our generation was fixers. And you're 100% right. And what that's done, though, is our generation is retiring at a rapid rate.
Oh, absolutely.
So you got 73,000 open positions annually in the auto repair industry.
See, and you know what's exciting?
Say that again.
73,000
73,000 positions.
Wow.
Jobs are open.
Yeah, and what that's saying is obviously we're short. We're short people in our industry, and we all know this. We all feel it, and we all know it. And you know, I've had some people retire on me, that just got to the age where they just were done.
We have too.
And so what's happening is they're not filling the pipeline as quick as they're retiring, and that's the problem.
You bet. Well, and the problem also is, and it was this way a few years back. I mean, let's think back just a little bit. You know what I mean? The perception was that, mechanic, can't really, I can't really provide or do this or anything else. And I think nowadays things have come a long way where opportunities are starting to grow as well as salaries are starting to grow. And now you see kids that are getting excited again, you know what I mean, about being able to apply themselves in our industry. And it's on the grow. It's pretty exciting.
Well, and you, I don't have to tell you guys this, but in the auto repair industry, you can make a 6-figure income, no problem.
Pretty easily.
Yeah, you know what? And that's you just have to know. You have to know what you know.
But you got it. There you go.
And here's another thing:
it's applying yourself, just like anything else.
Right.
Gotta wanna do it.
And you gotta have the aptitude for it.
And I want to say one thing that's really unique about this industry. Like if you're a dentist or a doctor, not that I'm depreciating what they do and everything, but teeth and jaws and whatever else, the human body, the anatomy of a human hasn't morphed and changed over the last, 10, 20, 50 years, right? What does change every day is the automotive industry. We have new challenges, new models come out, new technologies come out, sometimes twice in the same year on the same make and model of vehicle. So it's a constantly morphing industry as opposed to many of the standard industries where there's a lot of people making a lot of money as doctors and whatever, even lawyers and everything else like that. The law's a law, yes, laws change and new laws come out and everything, but it's a lot of it is still just the base knowledge, right? But with auto repair, it's a daily challenge. We get new stuff in every day that we've never seen before.
I gotta be honest,
it is. I love it. That's why I love this industry.
Well, it doesn't get boring. It doesn't get boring. It doesn't get boring.
That's for sure. You're going to go to work
sure.
and do the same thing every day, day in, day out.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to handle that either.
Yeah.
But so how do you guys feel? Would you rather have an apprentice that didn't go to a trade school or an automotive trade school, or would you rather have an apprentice or have somebody come in that has went to the trade school?
Well, you're
a loaded question.
You're only as good as what you've absorbed and taken in. You can have a guy go to school for years and they don't know jack squat about anything, right?
Well, and sometimes the things that are promised to them through these trade schools are also
unrealistic. They're unrealistic.
So that's why I said it's a loaded question.
Hey, you're going to get out of school and you're going to make $100,000 your first year. No, you're not.
Well, let's look at going to college, for example. Here we go. Let's look at going to college.
How much does it cost you?
Yeah, it's a significant dollar amount. Let's just throw a number out there, okay? And this is going to be way low, but for the sake of discussion, it'll help us. It's going to cost you $100,000 to go to a 4-year university, right? Probably at a minimum, you know what I mean? Maybe more.
Sometimes it's $100,000 a year, depending on what your course of study is.
That's why I said, you know, but I'm being very conservative here. But then you get out, and your expectation is, depending on whatever it is that you've chosen that you want to do, is that you're going to be able to make that back in, you know, your first year or thereabouts. And the truth is that doesn't add up, because nowadays, you know what I mean, it's going to take some time, you know what I mean, and then if you have to go to graduate school or extended beyond the 4 years, now all of a sudden you're getting into dollars upon dollars. Now, going into your question, UTI, EVIT, some of these places where people have opportunity to go, there usually is a fee that is equated with that. And so when they get there, all right, they are then sometimes told, I mean, I had guys that were coming in from some of these trade schools in interviews, like to your point,
right,
that were saying, oh yeah, we were told that, you know what, they're just going to take us right into the dealer. We're going to make $150,000, you know what I mean, right out of the boat. All we got to do is buy a little toolbox and we're good to go. And I thought to myself, wow, I mean, if that was the case,
there's the door.
I'm going to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the reality of it is that isn't logical or realistic.
There's owners of shops that don't make that kind of money.
That's exactly right.
And they've got a vast amount of knowledge and things to offer the clients that these freshies that just came out of school couldn't possibly do.
So to directly answer your question, Dave, all right, I would prefer to have, there are some people that absolutely need to go to a technical school to get some foundation. You know what I mean? Just to get their head wrapped around some of the concepts and things like that. And
theory,
yeah. And so when they come out of there, they're more well prepared to go into the working world. There are some who are ready, literally right out of high school. You know what I mean? And I wish, in all truthfulness, I wish there were more high school programs. You know what I mean? When I was a kid,
there were those programs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had auto shop, right. And I remember loving that. That was, you know, and you could take your own car there. You could work on some of your buddies' cars. I mean,
that's when you find that passion that you talked about.
Absolutely,
it's 100%. The problem is we took all of that vocation and we want everybody to be book smart. And we took them all out of these high schools, which was sad because there's a lot of people
they can't put a screw in the wall.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that just aren't book smart. I'm one of those people. I'm not book smart. But I usually can solve a problem. If I see it in front of me, I'll fix it. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I'm a listener and an observer learner.
Yeah,
I got to do it. You know what I mean? Let me do it.
Yeah, let me understand what the problem is, or let me understand what the challenge is.
Let me fumble. Yeah. Let me go ahead and mess up, and then let me reevaluate, and then go, okay, now I'm seeing where I can do this, and boom, it's part of the excitement.
Right, and when you're talking about an apprenticeship, you know, like in our shop, you know, what we do is we'll get somebody in there, we'll interview them, we'll let them, let us give us all their experience of what they've done, and very little maybe, or maybe a lot, but then we'll try them out on the floor.
Yes.
And keep an eye on them and just see how they do and see if they have that aptitude for it. And then one thing that we're really blessed to be able to do is we're blessed to be able to send these kids to classes. Right. And give them some of that knowledge that they need.
And one of the cool things now is that they have video classes that we can do. You know,
but see, here's the best part about it is that they're on the floor, they're in the real world. So when they can apply that knowledge right off the bat,
boom.
You know what I mean? It's not we don't throw a bunch of paperwork at them and tell them, hey, this is what you got to do, this is how it's done, and whatever. This way they can go out there and whatever they learn that day or whatever they learn in that, couple-hour class or whatever it is. Maybe an all-day class.
They have that aha moment when they go out in the shop and say, "Oh,
and there
look
it is,
right
there, where they took the book knowledge, or they took, the presence of being able to see this, and then all of a sudden they got to apply it. It was like, whoa, that's where it cemented. You know what I mean? That's where it really, really stuck.
And they learn how to do things the right way. Sometimes even in the technical schools, they got 20, 30, 40 kids in a class, one instructor, and one vehicle. And so if you're not at the front of the line or somewhere near the front of the line, you're going to miss a good percentage of what's being demonstrated, illustrated, and taught, because you're not that person who's in the front of the line. Maybe you're not that person is going to bust through the line and get to the front,
Yeah.
So again, schools are great. I'm not disparaging that thought at all. I think it's great. I applaud that there still are technical schools that are taking on the automotive industry, because it's a big challenge for them, because everything is changing so rapidly in our industry, so.
But
the only problem that I have, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, there is absolutely inherent value in some of these schools, but think about who the schools are sponsored by.
Yeah.
And what what they're learning is. In other words, college, every year you got to go get books, right?
Mm-hmm.
What books are they learning from? In other words, whose manuals are they learning from? And the thing of it is, if it's too one-sided where they're only learning this, when they get into a shop like ours, which is multi-model,
right? Exactly. That's the point. They go to school. Oh, if you go to Audi or Mercedes or whoever. Right. And they get this mentality like, ooh, I can go there and make $100,000 my first job. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. You won't make $100,000 until you're probably there for 3 or 4 years, because you don't know enough yet.
Probably more like 6 to 8.
Right, and you're not efficient enough. You're not going to be able to be.
The efficiency is where you make the money, and efficiency means doing the job right the first time.
You guys, it's all about discipline. Right. Anything they're doing it's all about discipline.
But one thing we can teach these kids is we can teach them basically a path. Right. That they can go down to where that they can get up to speed quickly with getting a lot of different kinds of knowledge. Like you said a minute ago about we work on all makes and all models. They get to see a lot of different things. There's just a lot of different areas where they can learn. And we were talking about the high schools, how they've kiboshed a lot of the automotive departments. And I understand that to a certain degree, because look at the equipment that you have.
It costs them a lot of money.
It's cost them a lot of money. But why don't they? The thing that I wish they would do is just do some basic stuff, just to see if the kids have any
aptitude or even
love for it, for it.
Oh, you got to love it. You got to love this industry to work in it. There's no question about it. You don't go drudgery going to work. Oh, you're working on these stupid cars. No, I mean,
it's a hard job.
You got 3 of the most passionate people, and any shop owner that I know. They're passionate about what they do. They love people. They love cars. They love to fix things. It's their heroin, if you will.
It's a labor of love.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what keeps them driven and fed in other areas of their life as well, because they know they're accomplishing something positive every day. You walk out of there. It's another win. It's another win. And there's nothing that makes you feel better than winning, right?
Right. Absolutely. And here's the thing, Dave, if we were smart, because you brought up a really great point, think about all the equipment and stuff like that. We're updating and upgrading all the time.
Right.
And so, for example, what about a discarded alignment machine? We could donate that to the school.
Oh, absolutely.
A discarded scanner. The only reason we're discarding it is because it doesn't service necessarily some of the things that we're projecting for the future, the next 5 years, but it does everything for the last 15 to 18 years.
Right.
And you know what? Those are perfect tools and pieces of equipment that kids could be fumbling with, learning with, getting that familiarity and the aptitude, so that as they're moving in, to the newest.
That's a great program. If they could put something in it, they could. You're 100% right. And I'm telling you, there's probably, off the top of my head, I probably know 20 shop owners right now they would jump on that deal.
They'd be more than willing. And the thing of it is, because that's the other thing is, if we were, well, like I say, we have to really try to be influential to some of our co-owners and stuff like that, which are all absolutely fantastic people. I mean, I know some of the greatest people I know, happen to be doing the same industry that I do. And it's because of familiarity that I've gotten to know them. But I mean, I just appreciate them as people. But when it boils down to what we're talking about, would I rather have a fresh moldable piece of clay, where I can help to influence in what I'm going to call culturize? I like that word, because there's a culture that goes about in your shop. There's a culture that goes about in our shop, and it's influential, so that they really understand who they're really providing for is the customer, as well as themselves and the company as well. But at the same token, now we can teach them. We don't have to unteach them. Let me say that. Some of the bad habits that may have been picked up, by doing this or doing that. Because let's face it, sometimes we get even technicians that have been in the industry for a little bit, and they'll come into our shops, and what do we have to do? Sometimes we have to
You have to unlearn them, yeah.
Unlearn them.
Something that I know we talked about before doing this podcast, was that, many of the technical schools are sponsored by big brand dealerships.
Absolutely,
If it's Volkswagen or Audi or BMW
Ford.
or Mercedes, Ford, whoever it is. And the whole problem with it is that they teach them how to work on one brand, or they're directing them towards working on one brand. And one thing kind of thwarts their ability to have any kind of diversity in terms of their workload. They're working on the same brand, blah, 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 blah. And after a while, it just kind of gets boring unless you I worked in a machine shop at one time, and I was making the same part day after day after day. And I could almost fall asleep putting the parts in there and letting the machine do the next operation on the thing. And to me, it was so tedious and boring that I had to leave. I could not stay there because it drove me crazy, because there was no challenge. Yeah. The machine was doing all the work. I'm just loading parts onto it. And sometimes in the automotive industry, if you're doing the same thing, because when you start in as a tech, you're going to do oil changes. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to do maybe brake jobs. But you're going to be doing those for weeks and months and sometimes years. And the better you are at it, the more they stick you there, because you can do them faster and make more money for the company. Doesn't necessarily make you more money. So it kind of thwarts your ability to expand and become a better tech, a more widely trained tech, and become better at what you're doing. And the technical side of it, that's where you can really make the most money, right? When you're an A-Tech, you can diagnose something and you can fix it. But when you're really, really good, that's all you do is diagnose stuff. Yeah. And you hand it off to the other techs. Okay, this is what you got to replace. Then you give it to the parts changers, and they go in there and fix the parts. And you're making money just looking at vehicles and diagnosing what's wrong and pinpointing the problem.
But now let's just talk about what you just said, because I loved it. In fact, and it was something that people may not understand. We're actually talking about apprentices. What is an apprentice, and the way that we look at it and perceive it? And that is somebody who can come in and maybe shadow or work with maybe your diagnostics guy. Some of the best exposure they could ever get is learning exactly.
Cross training is essential in a privately held shop. And anywhere really, but
it's real world.
The dealerships are bent on keeping someone in that same stall for as long as they can until they threaten to quit.
You bet.
And then sometimes, hey, we'll find another head of cabbage and you're gone. Okay, right. Go find yourself another place to work.
Well, the whole thing is, and this is the other thing. Nowadays, nowadays there's career paths that we can literally provide for, our guys right up front. We can say, listen, for the first 2 years, we would like to see you do this and progress through. We talked about training in schools. Well, not everything has to go through what I'm going to call we've talked about online. We've talked about some of the learning, capabilities of the technicians while they're in the bays, But now they can have a path where they can say, okay, I can progress through this. I can progress through that. They can get a check off. And their mentor, is basically they're doing that so that they're not stuck, to your point, doing this for 10 years and getting that monotonous falling asleep at the wheel.
And here's the thing, the thing of it is one of the things that I tell a lot of these younger kids, and this is true. I've talked to electricians, I've talked to air conditioning and heating guys that own businesses and do that, plumbers. And you know what? You can earn while you learn.
Absolutely.
Instead of going the other way and paying like tons of money to go to a school, and literally, if you have some sort of aptitude, or maybe you worked on maybe your dad and you worked on a car, maybe you guys built a car together, whatever. The bottom line is that we can put you in so many different areas. And then the question is, one of the questions that I had here is how long does it take an apprentice to become a full-fledged mechanic?
Well, you know what? And that's a great question. And I will tell you this. Everybody's different, and because it really is about the
what is your experience
of the individual. Yep. But at the same token, if you could take somebody who really has, let's use that word aptitude again, who doesn't have necessarily the most aptitude, for what you're doing, and put them through a training program in about 2 years, you could have them being a pretty well-rounded technician, maybe not necessarily a full A, but probably somewhere a mid-grade B, technician, which means they have some capability, some experience, and are very, very useful and functional, in any shop anywhere in the United States of America, you know what I mean? And so the key to it is, I think some people could do it in 6 months. You know what I mean? But then again, that just is all dependent on the individual, because just
It is. You know what I look for? I look for critical thinkers and
Yes.
people think outside the box.
Right.
Because they see things that other people. I'm a critical thinker and a person who thinks outside the box. And I look at a vehicle. Some guy will be stuck on something, and I'll say, "Well, did you try this?" No, never even thought about trying it.
See,
Well, let's try this. And boom, right before their eyes, it gets done. It's like, how did you think of that? Well, and what I try to instill in them is that don't just think about things one way.
Right.
Think about 3 or 4 different ways that you can do something, and it's going to benefit you, because they're going to figure out how to do things faster, more methodically, and not be afraid to take that leap of faith and just say, I'm going to try this and see if that works.
Well,
you know,
to that point exactly, because this is the thought I had earlier we were talking, and that is, we have to make sure that people understand there is more than one way to do a job.
More than one way to skin a cat.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? They have to be open to it. But see,
Meow.
that's a real
For all you
thing.
cat owners, I apologize.
How many times, Dave, to your question, how many times when you get an instructor that says, no, you got to do it this way. Yeah. It's got to be done like this. And if you don't do A and then B and then C, whereas when you get them in a shop, you know what I mean? You know, with a good instructor or a good mentor, they're going, hey, I want you to think about it this way. You know what I mean? I want you to think about it this way. I want you to think about it like this, because now you can approach it, you know what I mean, without a box. That's the big key, is that, you know what, we got to get these people out of boxes.
So now that I asked you that question, let me ask you this question. Are you considered a technician when you graduate from tech schools?
You know what?
Depends on who you ask.
Well, no. Here's the way I look at that. Here's the way I look at it. I'll tell you. I look at it like it definitely depends on the person. Number one.
I'm just going to tell you this right now and cut right to the chase. You're a technician when you decide to be one.
Yeah.
I mean, and if that's right out of tech school, it could be before you go to tech school. It's a technician means I want to do that. I want to get after it. And you know what? I'm going to do what it takes to get from A to B to C to finalize this job and make it. Because then and only then is when you experience the joy and excitement of what I'm talking about. And that's not the dollars on the other end. Yeah. That's the excitement of being able to take something that was broke, making it anew, fixing it, and then having somebody else.
That's like asking, is Arnold Schwarzenegger, was he a bodybuilder? Well, not when he started off. He was a kid who got beat up and picked on when he was a kid. That's his real story. And he says, I'm not going to be like this anymore. And he started to lift weights. He started to work out. And pretty soon, he became Mr. Universe for many years in a row. You know, but no one becomes Mr. Universe overnight, and no one becomes Mr. Super Tech overnight. It's a learning process. It's like anything, any professional, any person who's a great lawyer, who's a great doctor, who's a great surgeon, who's a great anything. They didn't come out of medical school and start doing brain surgery.
Right.
I mean, it's something, you go from one thing to the next step. It's a stepping stone deal. But at every
There's
level,
levels, though. There's levels.
Absolutely.
Right, but you make,
levels.
and at each level that you progress at, you make more money.
Right.
Don't think Arnold didn't make millions of dollars as a bodybuilder, you know, eventually, right? He didn't make nothing. He started going to shows, and he's pretty good. Yeah, you got to work out harder, kid. And,
I think and here again, I want to go back to that perception that we experienced a few years back, where there was a real shortage of talent. You guys, we all experienced it. You know what I mean? We were literally coached about it. We were consulted about it. We were told about it, and then. The thing of it is, it's kind of like, you know, you can't tell a child, hey, that's hot, don't touch it. Because you know what? It's not that we didn't describe it properly or that it wasn't right in the way that we did it. It's that they don't know what hot means. And so they have to touch it before it's hot. Now they know what hot means. So, but the key to it is we heard about it and we were trying to get prepared for it. But then all of a sudden when we experienced it, we went, wow. Now I love what the statistics are telling us, and the script.
No, I love putting my hand on a hot stove.
Well, the script is starting to flip. You know what I mean? We're now seeing more interest, you know what I mean, in kids going to these schools and or going into shops and or inquiring about opportunities that are in our automotive industry, as well as other industries that are on the grow, more trade type things, because they're starting to recognize that, you know what? The world didn't get built by machines, you know what I mean? And AI is taking a prevalent, you know what I mean, number of opportunities away from human beings based on the simple fact that in certain applications, I'm sure it has a great, capability of providing good service. But the real reality of it is customer service will only ever be done by human beings. And you know what? When we engage with a car and stuff like that, I got to be honest with you, it's always going to take, somebody that has, a brain, hands, and the willingness to go out and do it and pursue
and I don't have to tell you guys this. It is a tough industry. It is
No
hard.
question.
It is hard. It's hot. It's hard. You're not in an air-conditioned office. But you know what? The thing of it is like you said, there's something really gratifying about fixing something, about just keeping the infrastructure in this country going. You know what I mean? And these younger people, and also too now they're getting paid more.
Yeah,
because
absolutely
we have 900 million vehicles in this country.
Right, wow. and they deserve it. They work really hard. These technicians,
three times the population
work really hard.
of our country.
Yeah. Well, and Dave, to your point, what industry is easy?
None. Well, I mean, there's different environments that are better.
Yeah.
As far as it's not 115.
Yeah.
Where you're out there working on a car that's 220 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different environments.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say it's better because I'll tell you what. I don't think any one of us really want to sit behind a desk and do nothing.
Couldn't do it.
Paperwork.
Couldn't do it.
I we all kind of like to.
I'd blow my brains up before I could do that for a living.
Yeah. Well, you said it. I was at a machine consistently going over and over again, and the repetitive nature of that. It has no draw. It has no move. It doesn't move you. You know what I mean?
And there's people out there that like it. There's people out there that like that revert. They just like to do the same thing over and over, and they don't want any other challenge in their life or nothing. They don't want to do that. Whatever. Go for it.
Yeah.
But
I'm glad there's people like that.
But
I'm just not one of them.
But to Glen's point earlier, he said, Glen said he's a critical thinker. I'm a backwards thinker.
Yeah.
I think of the end first and then try to work
reverse
it
engineer it.
Yeah.
I do, because the real truth of the matter is, for me, I want to understand.
You always impress me as being a little backwards. So that's kind of good.
Thank you.
but it's really funny you say that because my top guy, he that's how he fixes stuff. He reverse engineers just about everything, and he's got a brain for it. He can figure that out, and he figures things out that I just can't even believe. He makes tools. Those are the kind of people that we want in our shop because they think about things in a lot of different ways, and if something happens that they didn't expect, they figure out how to get past it.
Well, it doesn't stop them. See, that's the whole thing.
Right.
What I'm looking for in a technician or somebody that wants to get engaged is that, no holds barred. Look at, if you run into this situation, what would you do? You know what I mean? Well, then I would just create, like you said, they make their own tool. They make their own gadget. They make their own gadget. They find a new way, because the truth of the matter is, just like we've been talking about before, there's way more than one way to do a job. You don't have to go buy every special tool, you know what I mean, that's available.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's just fascinating because people keep trying to box us up, and we need to keep breaking out of that box.
One of the things that I tell my people all the time, if you don't quit, you're never going to fail.
That's exactly right.
And the thing of it is as long as you keep trying and you keep going after it, and that's one of the things my manager, he's worked for me for over 40 years, and he just shakes his head. He goes, "I'm never ever letting a car kick my butt. It's not going to happen."
And you know what's so funny? There is what I call a walkaway moment. You know what I mean? There is a walkaway moment sometimes where you've been pounding and just beating your brain cells on this thing, and you just can't figure it out. No longer can you even see clearly because your brain is just smoke filled. You know what I mean? Yeah. And all of a sudden you walk away and you get away from it for an hour or two, maybe overnight, and all of a sudden
the light bulb comes on.
Nothing stops turning, and all of a sudden it just goes whoop.
Yeah.
And you walk back in and you go, this is it. And it's because you've tried this, that. So now it basically breaks down. It can only really kind of be in this arena. Boom, there it is.
Well, and every good technician that I've ever talked to that's had a car that's really stumped them, like you said, is usually fixes it between 1 and 5 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
It's a truth.
Well, you know what? Hey, and it's as funny as that is. The other morning, I got to work, and I got to work at 5:30. I normally play pickleball at that time, but I happened to go in because I was doing something on our satellite building and trying to get something in there. And one of my techs was already at work. And I was like, whoa, Brenton, what are you doing? oh man, I had this thing and I was trying to figure out what was going on. He goes, and I thought about it last night. He goes, man, I came in this morning and I got it. And I was like, whoa.
And that's the thing. Then they can't sleep the rest of the night.
That's
anyway.
right.
So you
That's
might
right.
as well
They can't
go
wait to get in.
You might as well go and fix it. I mean, what
exactly.
the heck? You know, I've had texts tell me that all the time. It's like, you know, and I will tell them when they get to that point where you can just see the frustration in their face. I will say, it's time for you to go home.
Yeah.
Go home, sleep.
Yeah.
Think about it. Yeah, I know.
Take a walk away moment.
I know.
Before you throw a wrench through someone's windshield.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Frustration.
And I always tell them, don't think about it. Just go home. But I know they're gonna think about it, and they are gonna think about it all night long.
Yeah.
And until they have the solution, and which is awesome because that's that. I'm never gonna give up mentality,
Right.
and I love that.
Yeah. And I think therein lies, Dave, what we should really be looking for
There you go.
in our candidates and in the people who are coming to us. Because here's the thing, whether it's a school or whether they come in, you know what I mean, and they want to learn
on the job, training.
right? I will tell you this. A lot of kids that come in nowadays, they're not even sure if they really want to make this their career. And that's okay. That really is okay. See, the problem is everybody thinks, oh, you got to know, well, man, how many kids go to school and then they go, oh, I'm not sure really what I want to do yet.
Oh,
you know
it
what I mean?
happens all the time.
And you guys, we have to recognize that is okay. And I've heard some people, I had one guy tell me, well, I don't want to invest any time or money into this, you know, person because, you know, I can't guarantee they're going to be around. I go, dude, you can't guarantee they're going to be alive tomorrow. You know what I mean? Come on. And so the thing of it is, why not take, you know what I mean? This person who has I want it. Well, I'm pretty optimistic. I mean,
I'm a little worried, Lee.
People are looking for guarantees and there just aren't any, you know what I mean? And so I guess the key to it is we have to be willing to invest, you know what I mean? As much or more, you know what I mean, in the candidates that are coming in that want to be mentored.
Right. And I think back to and this will drive us home, is the thing of it is we look for more than experience when we're looking for a candidate.
Amen.
We look for the, hey, I'm never going to give up, I'm never going to surrender attitude.
The will to want to.
Yeah, right. And basically the critical thinking, the overall, how do I solve a problem and figure out how to solve that problem? You know, and you want to know how mentally tough they are.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it takes.
There's
no
question.
Our industry has changed so much,
Yeah.
and there's so much that goes into critical thinking, to fixing stuff, because there's so many different ways of testing things. There's so many different ways, so many different systems out there, and you have to kind of adapt to all of them.
You bet. Well, and the fun thing is, it goes back to something that I think you guys both mentioned earlier, and that is, you know what? This is ever changing. You know, this is like a whirling dervish, man. This thing is just spinning all over the place. And the thing of it is, it's exciting to get on the track and to be able to, you know, learn all the new stuff coming out. And you know what? Here's the thing. Every day we have an opportunity for growth. You know what I mean? That's the one thing that is really offered in our industry is you have a new challenge. You can face a new challenge. You can learn something new. You can, you know, excite yourself by trying something. And you know what? It just really enhances the whole experience to be able to move forward. And then all of a sudden you get a paycheck that paid you for it. And you're like, woo, this is pretty good.
Yeah. Earn while you learn. Love that.
Earn while you learn.
Well, guys, you know what? It's been another great podcast. And I'm telling you, I encourage all the younger people out there.
Oh, I do too.
You know what? If you have a passion for the auto repair industry, look into it. Talk to some people. You know, get a job in the auto industry. Hey, the first couple of years you're an apprentice, you're not going to make a lot of money, but you know what? It's better than spending a bunch of money.
Well, and here's the thing, and to that end, it doesn't mean you won't make any money, but remember this: we grew up in the pay to play type of a program. You know what I mean?
Right.
You have to learn to earn, right? So you got to learn and take that time seriously, but along the way, man, be progressing, because the thing of it is, nothing says you have to stay back for very long. There's not a set time frame that says, oh, you got to be this for this long, or you got to be that for this long, you got to be that for this long. You know what I mean? As fast as you want to grow, that's as fast as your paycheck can grow.
And the thing of it is you brought it up earlier. How many people have degrees in something that they're not even doing anymore because they don't like it? Why wouldn't you want to get into the industry to be around that industry, to see what it's like before you went out there and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a degree in something,
and then to find out that's really not what I want to do.
Something you don't want to do.
Well, it's like
I didn't know it was going to be like this. The classroom never told me I was going to be sweating my backside off in a hot shop or whatever, you know.
Well, it's like buying a car that you don't really want to drive, or you don't enjoy
burning
driving.
My hands and scraping and cutting my fingers up every day on something when the wrench slipped, or There's so many things that
Yeah.
it entails. It's not just, I'm going to look at this car and wave the magic wand over it and something's going to change. It's going to get better. There you go.
Those are badges of honor.
Busted knuckles. Yeah.
Bloody knuckles.
We love pain.
Yeah, there we go.
Well,
So
guys,
if you're a masochist, come see us.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hell, you're sitting behind a desk, you get a paper cut.
There you go.
I think that hurts way worse sometimes.
Yeah, there. Hey, I'll agree.
It takes longer to heal.
Take the first 4 layers, man. Don't just cut me with a little piece of paper. God, why?
Paper cuts for some reason hurt like hell of a lot more than really messing yourself up.
Hey, well, Dave, you know what? And I will tell you, Livia and everybody, thanks for that discussion because, yeah, we want, I mean, if you're asking me, do I want somebody that goes to school or somebody that, wants to come into the shop? Both.
Yeah,
I want
the
them
answer is
both.
yes.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because the reality of it is, I want to look at the individual as an individual, and I want to be able to welcome them into our industry. And you know what? Hey, sky's the limit for them. That's the reality. And
All we look for is commitment.
that's it.
You're committed to it, then hey, we want to help. We want to help grow you.
There you
we
go.
want to help you on the path that you want to get on so
Yeah.
you can succeed,
Yeah.
in your life the way you want to.
Yeah, it's funny, but the saying that we always say, you got to wanna. If you want to do it, we'll be right there to support you. But we got to be willing to put in just as much effort and more that they are. And you know what? If we'll stick with them and they'll stick with us, boy, I'll tell you what, greener pastures are on the horizon.
Got it.
For sure.
Well, guys, it's been another great podcast, and it's always great to see you guys. And I look forward to seeing you again on the next podcast.
Dave, thanks
Amen.
again.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.